You know that feeling when someone cuts in front of you in the line? Or if you start losing at your favourite game? Maybe your friend is taking that joke just a little bit too far, and you feel this fire start building and building and building. Okay. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and count to 10. That's the advice that parents and teachers will often give you. But we all have our different ways of dealing with it. You know, do we bottle it up? But then we don't really deal with the problem. Do we let it out and then run the risk of hurting others, you know, our friends and our families? Let's talk about how we deal with anger. Anger, along with happiness and sadness, is probably one of the most fundamental of human emotions. Scientists suggest that as a species we've always had this inside us, even back to when we used to hunt for food and fight over territory. In particular, it relates to the fight or flight response, where our bodies prepare for that first eventuality. That's probably why we get so tense when we get angry. It's our bodies preparing to fight. Thankfully, we've come a long way since then. But anger still shows itself in some really nasty ways. Negative thoughts, harmful words, even violent actions. How do we feel about anger? The American author Mark Twain said that anger is an acid which can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it can be poured. I guess what he's saying is that anger does more harm to the person that's holding it inside them, the person that's allowed themselves to get angry. The Greek philosopher Aristotle said that anybody can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry at the right person, and to the right degree, and at the right time, and for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not within everybody's control, and that is not easy. These are two very different ideas. Let's have a look at an example. On the 22nd of May 2017, at a concert in Manchester, 23 people lost their lives and 139 people were seriously injured. Over half of the victims were children, innocent people with no agenda other than to go out and have a good time. They were attacked in a brutal act of terror designed to spread fear and hatred. They had every right to feel angry. The victims and their families had every right to want revenge. I was expecting to see Manchester become a distrusting and divided city. That would have been the acid that Mark Twain was talking about. And that would have been the easy option, as Aristotle said. But that's not where the story ends. Fast forward 2 weeks, and the streets of Manchester are buzzing with excitement. Crowds of people are gathering together, carrying banners displaying messages of love, hope and compassion. They're heading towards the Old Trafford cricket ground. You see, the One Love event in Manchester is an example of anger done right. They turned it into a force for good. Within 12 hours of the event, over £10 million was raised for the families of those victims. A city stood together, hand in hand, unified under one song. Don't look back in anger. Our world is broken. It's poverty, discrimination, injustice. I sometimes feel like there are countless reasons to feel angry. But the good news is that we get to decide what we do with that anger. We can bottle it up and let it damage ourselves. We can lash out and hurt others. Or we can turn it into a force for good. To build up rather than to tear down. To extend a loving hand rather than a clenched fist. To build bridges rather than put up walls. Let's change how we feel about anger.